city right now, just surviving this movement.
Freddie Gray sparked an uprising inside of our mouth, and the most powerful thing that we can do is keep fighting for that.
So that was the Baltimore uprising.
Really?
Alright, so the change of police policy. So, I didn't really look like anything changed, but in Baltimore had, in 2017, had 342 murders recorded, and that's like the highest murder rate in the US history. And that's more than Chicago's and is higher than any city of 500,000 residents or more. Since the Baltimore uprising, CPD have ignored crime according to the citizens and implicated in multiple federal investigations for robbing cities, carrying toy guns, to plant on suspects, and drug trafficking. The only thing that I found that was definitely going to change was the fact that police officers are now required to wear body cameras are doing anything that is illegal. Well, yeah, so that's what they look like. I don't know if you've seen a police camera on an actual police officer before, but I know I haven't. And these are the charts. So, police have killed 1,147 people in 2017. Black people were 25% of those killed, despite being only 13% of the population. And police killed 1,164 people in 2018. And the data shows that people of color, especially black men, are much more heavily patrolled and assaulted by police officers. So, zoom into them. BC. So it's like 3 times more likely to be killed by a policeman than white. And 30% of black victims were unarmed in 2015 compared to 21% of the white victims. And then there's one underneath that shows 7 times more likely to be killed by a police officer in Oklahoma than Georgia. And 13 of the 100 largest US city police departments killed black men at higher rates than the US murder rate. So then we have this too. It's 99% of cases in 2015 have not resulted in any officers involved being convicted of a crime, as you can see. And okay, so then I have some contrast to other cases. So in response to one of my central research questions, I have compared the treatment of a few white men by police to draw contrast to the difference in how whites are treated compared to blacks in these situations. So Dylan Roof is the 21-year-old white Charleston shooter who killed 9 people in the historical black church, was placed in a bulletproof vest after his arrest to prevent injury. Then police officers brought him to Burger King for a snack. Brock Turner, the white Stanford swimmer who was caught on video assaulting an unconscious woman, he ended up serving 3 months. Both young men are still alive today, and data suggests that the same would not be true for blacks. And then I have another video.
One of the human beings with their ideas on bars, shackled in the world, are locked up here in the land of the free.
Khalif Bragger was walking home from a party when he was stopped by police.
Then they said, we're going to take you to the precinct and go home, and then I never went home.
13th Amendment to the Constitution makes it unconstitutional for someone to be held as a slave. There are exceptions, including criminals.
Paul was immediately exploited. What you got after that was a rapid transition to a mythology of black criminality.
That needed to be controlled.
You better believe it.
It became virtually impossible for a politician to run and appear soft on crime.
The kinds of kids that are called super predators.
Millions of dollars will be allocated for prison and jail facilities.
3 strikes and you are out.
There was an enormous burden on the black community, but it also violated
fairness and support fairness.
States were required to keep these prisons filled, even if nobody was committing crime.
It's so difficult to talk about mass incarceration because it has become heavily monetized.
The focus is on taking people from prison, putting them in community corrections, parole, probation.
How much progress is it really? Now there's a private company making money off the GPS monitor.
We now have more African Americans under criminal supervision than all the slaves back in the 1850s.
We are the products of the history that our ancestors chose. Products of that set of choices that we have to understand in order to escape from.
So that was a film called 13th, which I watched for some of my research. And, okay, so luckily today in response to the continued systematic violence, resources and research to help enact changes is more prevalent and accessible than ever before. Modern films are a great example for, I don't know the words, critiques of the system. This research project has given me the lens with which examples the US prison system. And I think that's, okay, then these are my reference and my research. This is all of my resources. Sorry, I couldn't think for a second. And yeah, are there any questions? I was gonna go with that, but then we forgot. So what you can do is you can just bring awareness to it, and if like there are protests happening, if you want to be a part of the protest, you can go. If you don't want to, if you're young and you have like younger people and you want to make signs, you can make signs for it, you can help, just do anything really. Yes?
What was the statistic you found most surprising? Like one of the things you learned, what was the most shocking or?
The most shocking one, here, 1 second, sorry. I think the most shocking one was the fact that, kind of the Dylan Roof case where he did shoot up a church with African Americans in it, and he ended up being treated as if he was like kind of a regular person by the police, where if a black person did that, they'd be probably like killed right on the spot or treated differently. Is that it?
What are you going to do differently after your project now? How's this impacted you?
This has impacted me a lot. It's definitely opened my eyes to see that there are other things happening, and I didn't really know about this until like a couple months ago, because I would always see it. My mom told me about the Eric Gardner case when I was younger, and I didn't really understand it until now. And this has impacted me in multiple different ways where I have to be more aware. And I think I'm gonna try to become an activist or something, try to impact it some way. I don't know how, but I will try. Kevin?
What were some of your biggest obstacles and challenges in this?
I lost all my notes. Stressing over everything, crying, all that, mostly. But the biggest obstacle is probably losing my notes and me stressing over it instead of actually doing my work. My friends distracting me getting all tangled up and talking and stuff. But yeah. Kevin?
For one of the people that were shot and killed, 12 years old?
Yeah.
And how old were you?
13. Hunter, did you have questions?
Well, so, like, when you said, like, the obstacles, I'm saying, like, I think, like, even with all those obstacles, your presentation is really good.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Claire.
So I know during your project, compiling all your research, you also learned your whole presentation system. So you were juggling a lot of stuff. Can you talk a little about how you made sure to decompress and take care of yourself?
Yeah, so when I got stressed, I would either count to 10 and stuff like that, or There was one time where I got really stressed over a comment that one of my friends made, and me and Clayton walked around the yard and we talked about it and stuff. So that was kind of what I did. And I kind of tried to not get angry at other people when I was stressed out, because that's something that I can do a lot. So I tried to just sit down and think it through. But yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
You know that you also learned a little bit about prison
Yeah.
system, and what was something that you found interesting or you didn't know?
I found it interesting that there are such things as private prisons where people make money off of the prisoners that they have. I think that private prisons shouldn't be a thing, because you're kind of making money off of someone else's failure, and you're making them feel even worse than they already were in the beginning. So that's something that shocked me. I didn't know that they were a thing, but apparently they are. Mom?
You were also telling me about some of the other prisons in other countries, right, that do things differently.
That's like, I talked to Clayton about that. That's like another whole project, but there are different, I was looking at it because I found it interesting, but in other countries, like in Germany, they use their jails as rehab instead of a punishment, so they'll set it up and try to make it look as much as the community as possible, so they don't feel like they're in a punishment, but more like rehab, kind of. Zach?
How do people make money on them?
So private prisons are not run by the government like public prisons, because public prisons get money from the government because you're kind of paying taxes, and so that goes to there. But for private prisons, I didn't really look into it, but I know that they make money off of how many prisoners they have. So it's like you have to have X amount of prisoners in order for the staff who work there to get that much money. So what they're doing is they're just making money off of the prisoners, kind of. Any other questions? Yeah.
I know I shared with you statistics of what happens to the general population when they get out of jail. Did you look further into the statistics to what happens to Black people when they get out of jail?
Not really. Not as much as I'd liked, but no, not really. Any other questions? Mom?
You talked about how you dealt with some of the issues in terms of like your presentation, getting everything together. How did you handle some of the emotional issues, you know, being Black yourself, having a Black brother, and watching all this stuff happening?
I kind of handled it by crying like at like 2 in the morning into my pillow, but I also handled it by kind of just knowing that this is happening and it is a sad topic, but it's also like I did get a little desensitized to some things, because I'm like, okay, it's like bad that I did, because I've just been looking at it for the past 2 weeks. But it's kind of hard knowing that people can just treat other people like they're animals and make them look like animals and just like beat them to death or something, and it's insane.
Is the conversation in your home, in terms of how your parents speak to you about the way you walk through the world, do you think it's different than the conversation my home with my children?
I think it's very different, but I feel the one thing that I fear about it is it takes it as a joke at times, and I feel like that's not very good. But I think it is different because there are things where it's like I have to do things differently, and it's kind of it annoys me sometimes, the fact that people can't just accept the fact that like we're not different just due to our skin color. But the conversation is definitely different, especially with my brother, because he is darker than me, and I feel that my mom hasn't really given me a talk about it, but she has told me that there are certain things that people of color need to do in order to not get shot or to not get put in jail. So yeah, that's kind of from my point of view. Any other questions?
I just want everybody to sit with that idea for a moment. Sit with that idea for a moment. I'm impressed, and thank you for this.
Thank you.
We're not on the limb, and I think you took the risk of your own emotional well-being, and thanks.
Thank you.